Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to Gooner TV. It's your host. Yes, it's me, Jason Gooner, and I am back with another episode of Reasoning Time. It is episode 28 of the series. This time, we're going to put some focus on the Jamaican national teams from the Reggae Boyz, Reggae Girlz, right through to the youth setup as well. And we're going to focus on the youth side of things, on the recruitment, what I've learned of, just being a little more in tune with it over I'd say the last 2, 3 cycles of the youth setups, just kind of from what I've seen, observed, been able to find out basically what I deem to be just a lack of any true idea of how to really recruit players for these national teams. And it also has an effect as well on the senior teams that I'll talk about as well. Of course, the Reggae Girlz did have a friendly that they played on the 28th. Obviously, that day known for other reasons due to the Hurricane Melissa hitting the island that same day. But yeah, want to discuss how that game went. We were able to find at least some extended highlights. So we, I couldn't get into it analytically like I would like to, watching the game a couple of times and being able to come and give you guys my take on it. But we're able to, thankful to the TNT FA, they put out some extended highlights. So we got to see a little bit more than the goals. I'm going to show that to you guys, and you and us can watch it together and talk about it. Also, we did get the lineups and who played, so we'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, just take a look at a little more closely what we have to look forward to for the Reggae Girlz as far as their World Cup qualifying campaign, which is going to get underway very, very soon here. And of course, we're going to end off the show today with the boys' form. Right, we know that we have a huge, crucial November window for the Reggae Boyz coming up in 15 days now, 2 weeks. And we want to just take a look at who's been playing, who's not been playing, who's injured, who's recovering from injury. So we're going to dive into some of that as well and just take a look at, comparative to who we're going to be facing. And I'm going to be focusing pretty much on Curacao where that is concerned, because I do think that that is the game where we need to get 3 points out of if we're going to make it to the top of this group, I believe. So people, that is pretty much what we have on tap for today. So we're going to get right into it. I did delay the show a bit. I was watching the hurricane relief, the government giving their assessment and just giving their news and numbers, and how many still without power, when will the major airports be reopened, when will relief be heading to these towns that were really ravaged and communities. So yeah, I was just giving that some time. I wanted to hear some of the major statistics and just be abreast of what's going on. Thankfully, my immediate family was in Kingston, and so they were okay. They were really just without electricity for that one night. They were able to get that back by in the morning. By the grace of the Lord, they're able to acquire a water pump over the years. So once they had electricity, they were able to get running water as well. So they're much luckier than a lot of folks in Jamaica, and we know that. My extended family, I do have some in St. Elizabeth, still have not heard from them, so we don't know what's going on there. We know that the numbers and the death toll, we keep hearing different things. I'm sure, sad to say, I believe that number is going to continually increase once they do more recovery and relief work and rescue work. But yeah, look, it's a difficult time for all Jamaicans on the ground, Jamaicans in the diaspora, because we are in some way affected by what happened a few days ago. So look, they just had a discussion about this on the program that I was watching, actually still listening to it just to hear. But yeah, they just said, listen, just be careful if you do want to give your support monetarily. Just be careful for, with great disaster always comes opportunity for scamming, which is a sad thing and a sad way to think about it, but it's the truth. And we have to be honest about things. So just be careful. Just be careful as far as who you're giving to, because I know that there are some people out there taking advantage of this situation for the wrong reasons, right? Big up to Chorus in the building. Big up to Joseph Brown, honorary member, not even honorary, actual member of the channel. Big up yourself. Blessing up everyone. Yeah, man, football is just football. That is so true, Africans. So true. Man just have a block of time or have to get in the content. So I had to kind of get it in, but I have enough time still, so we don't need to rush anything. But yeah, let the show begin. Yeah, see him so. Yeah, man, like, share, and subscribe. Let them know that is the key. All right, big up to Meeks in the building. L Meeks, Reggae Girlz game coverage beyond poor. Yeah. I reached out a little before the game, trying to figure out would I be able to see it. It was confirmed I wouldn't be able to. Um, yeah, so I'll talk about that more in just a moment. Bless up, bless up, bless up, bless up, Africans. Yo, 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 yo. Big up BM in the building. Where did I watch the game? I didn't. I didn't watch the game, BM. There was nothing. I just hope the resources get to the people who really need it. That's how I pull together as Jamaicans. Facts. Yeah, man. I have no doubt that we're gonna pull together. I just like you said, I just hope that the resources do get to where they need to get to. You know, that's my only prayer. Big up Rob Smith in the building. Hope all is well. Hope I know you're not in Jamaica, but if you have any family there, I hope everybody got through relatively okay. I know, nothing's gonna be perfect right now, but we have to remember at the same time, life is the most important thing. I know if you've lost belongings and possessions, it's very difficult to start over, but just know that there are some worse off. Some people did lose life, so there's always that to consider as well. Not even on Google you couldn't see the match lineup or any information. Yeah, look, I'm glad you brought up the lineup because I want to bring that up same time. I did get my hands on a lineup for both teams, the match card basically. Um all right, so I have that ready. Big up Sheridan. I know that's your picture, so I know that's you. Big up yourself. Jason, I saw a man in Trelawney in tears. He literally lost everything except the clothes on his back. Yeah, BM, I saw the same interview. He said he's like a pillar in the community, but even he doesn't really have the mental strength right now to be there for the community. Sad, sad, sad to see that state. But look, man, I just have to know that there's a lot of people out there that care, and the relief efforts will come. It like who said it up here? Somebody mentioned just hopefully the resources do go to the places they're supposed to go. That's my main concern because I think the resources will show up. I'm curious about what you've heard about youth teams, but you're running the show, so my patience is locked in. Yeah, Africans, it's a tactic to keep the watch hours going. You know these things. Yeah, man, we're gonna talk about that though. But the first thing I'm gonna discuss, I'm gonna start with the Reggae Girlz because it's the most recent thing, kind of. And I didn't, um, I'd like to think that I'm one of the people in the space that do have time for the girls. And I just feel like I wasn't given the tools I needed to cover the girls this window. It's really been sad and that side of things. So yeah, that's the only thing that I can say. Like I don't understand why I couldn't get more raw material to work with as a person trying to make the people know about what's going on. Family good, anything lost can be bought, anything broke can be fixed. So we are good, we all have life. That is it. That is it. That is it. Yeah, man, give thanks for your blessings every day. 12 for Jamaica look very skilled. Who is she? So the number 12 for Jamaica look very skilled. And who is she? All right, so let me see. Who was wearing the 12? So the 12 is a player that you should know already because she's been around. She's been to the World Cup first already. That's Kiki Van Zanten is the 12. Yes, Kiki was wearing the 12. The lineup was on the Instagram. Yeah. The lineup was on the Instagram. Yes, it was. See, Miami Heat donated 1 million. Where's Arsenal Jamaica's team? Don't it? Arsenal needs to step up for real, you know. Cause even Arthur Blank, big up to Arthur Blank, Atlanta United and Atlanta Falcons and all of the teams here basically are in Georgia. They pledged 2.5 million. So yeah. And they didn't actually say who they donated to. They just said that they are pledging 1 million to whatever relief efforts. So, you know, I guess they need to speak to the relevant authorities to see where that money is gonna actually go. Black River looked like it got hit by a nuclear weapon. JDF still working on getting access report that 36 bodies have been recovered so far. I expect it to be far worse when they gain access. Yeah, that is so true, Jay. I mean, I know I kept hearing 7 and 3 and these smaller numbers, and I'm thinking that devastation don't add up to those numbers. You know, it's just that they can't really get to the places yet. All right, so let me get on the screen. First and foremost, I'm going to show you guys the lineups that I saw. And this has both teams and the benches and the numbers and everything, so you can kind of follow along. Because I'm going to show you guys the extended highlights right here. We're going to watch it together. Big up to the TNT FA for dropping this, because you know the JFF did put out a video, but it was just the goals scored in the game. So this gave me a little bit more, at least, to kind of see where players were playing, who was subbed on, and stuff of that nature. You know, trying to make sense of what we saw happening. So the first thing, though, before I show you guys the lineup, we were given a squad at a press conference of the team for the window, and that squad didn't quite come to fruition once we got to the game. Of course, in the pre-match press conference, the coach would have addressed these things, you know, players pulling out and whatnot. But you know, what was kind of interesting, I thought, and let me see here, see if I can find it. All right, so we knew that 4 players that were on the original list were, you know, either unfit, unavailable, you know, several different reasons, right? But we have Rebecca Spencer pulling out, Atlanta Primus pulling out, Vian Sampson pulling out, and Shania Hales pulling out. So 4 players that I would think, if they were in the team, would be, you know, heavily in line to start, or definitely at least play major minutes. So they pull out of the squad. The replacement players that were brought in were Mia Mitchell, Lola Nesbeth, Serena Mensah, and Rishaya Walker. Now, Mensah and Walker we have seen you know, recently, especially in that time period when we had the Gold Cup qualifiers, when, you know, most of the first team, as you would say, or that World Cup squad core were at odds with the federation. They were what was the term being used? They weren't available for selection at the time, or something like that. So yeah, when that was going on, we were able to see some of these players, Mensah, Walker. Walker, I thought, was one that we could maybe work on. She was young. She was in college at the time. I think now she's finished with college, or maybe in her last year. And she looked to have some potential, good strength, decent pace on her, but definitely raw. Mensah, to me, didn't look like somebody that we could really use once the players that were really available to us were, you know, available to us. And Nesbeth and Mitchell, I think Mitchell has represented us at the youth level, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe somebody in the comment section can correct me, but Nesbeth is one that I wasn't really aware of before. So yeah, those were the replacements for those 4. So right there, the quality level of the camp, I think, just dropped a little bit when you're talking about, you know, maybe not so much Mitchell, because I think Mitchell does have good pedigree, but Nesbeth, Mensah, and even Walker, I think that's a little bit of a drop off when you're talking about the likes of, you know, Spencer to Mensah, or Primus to a Nesbeth, or Vian Sampson, or Shania Hales to a Rishaya Walker. You know, those, I don't think those players really equal to one another. But of course, they're replacements, so we're not going to expect them to be the same. But I thought that maybe we could have gotten some different players there, but maybe it's a you know, logistics thing. I don't know what really would have caused these players to be the ones, but The good thing is they were able to replace them, because we have seen sometimes we go on these camps and trips and it's a very diminished looking squad, 18 to 20 players, when really and truly for these you'd like to have like about 24, at least 22, so you can play a squad game if you want to play a squad game, right? So those were the four. That's basically how it started out. 4 players leaving, 4 players coming in. Now, when we get to game time now for this game that was played on the 28th, this is the lineup that Jamaica went with to face Trinidad. So I'm going to get that on the screen for you guys. I have the match sheet right here. All right, let me get this up. And remember, guys, like, share, subscribe. About 20 of you in the building right now. Hopefully, we're up to 20 likes already. Shouldn't be too hard to get there. So please go ahead and tap up that like button and share it as well. I did share it to some folks, but I know, we're not gonna too run down how many people is here. We understand there's a lot of things on people's minds. Hopefully that this content, even if it's not watched now, people will go back and watch it when they have the time, because I think you'll get some good info from it. All right, or you guys be the judge. Watch it and let me know if you got anything. All right, so this was the starting lineup on the bench for Jamaica. On the right hand side, as you can see, Sydney Snyder started in goal. Alison Swaby was at captain. She played centre back. We have Mia Mitchell getting the start. Chantel Swaby, Kanya Plummer, Kayla McKenna, Jody Brown, Denden Blackwood, Tiffany Cameron, Natasha Thomas, and Sade Adamalokin. So that was the starting lineup for Jamaica. Basically, we came out in I would call it a 4-3-3, basically. Maybe a 4-2-3-1 if you want to get specific. But basically, it was Swaby and her sister on the back line in the center back area. Tiffany Cameron was playing right back. Left back, starting left back was Kanya Plummer. Then playing advanced up Plummer was Denisha Blackwood on the left-hand side. On that right-hand side, it looked like starting out, it was Natasha Thomas. And then in that midfield area, it was Sade and Mia Mitchell. And then the attacking midfielder looked to be Jody Brown on the day. Now, there was a bit of rotation going on from what I saw of the highlights in the first half. Brown and Natasha Thomas were kind of interchangeable, but Brown it looked like playing the more central of the two. And of course, Kayla McKenna was playing number 9 at the time. Now, it looked like it could have been also a 4-4-2 based on the highlights, but I just couldn't quite work out. It didn't make sense really from the highlights I saw that it was a 4-4-2. I will go with the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1. Sade had a little bit more freedom than Mia in that midfield central zone. And Jody Brown was really playing as a central attacking midfielder that had license to drift, right or left, wherever the space provided. But yeah, that's what I saw. I don't know if anybody saw anything different. It could have read more as a 3-5-2 with McKenna and Thomas up front, and Jody Brown kind of in behind those two, with wing backs being Denisha and Tiffany Cameron. So it could have been that as well. But based on what I saw, it looked more like a back four with Kanya Plummer left back and Tiffany Cameron right back. If anybody was at the game and can tell me anything differently, let me know. But yeah, that's what I saw. But on the bench, we see Izzy Groves back in the fold. We like to see that. Gabrielle Gale, former representative of the Reggae Girlz. She's back in the fold, playing in Liga MX right now. Then we have Rashaya Walker, Kiki Van Zandt, and Serena Mensah was the backup goalkeeper. And Jerry Butts, converted attacker, can play defense as well. Tiana Harris, one of the players I was really excited about for this window, playing currently in Portugal, captaining her team in the top division. Very good player, I think, and a needed centre back, challenge to the Swaby sisters, right? I love them to beat to pieces, but I think iron sharpens iron always, and I didn't really see in the makeup of the squad that we've seen recently players that were really there to take their spot. I'm seeing players there that can be their backups, but I think Tiana Harris actually could potentially force her way into the starting lineup based on what I've seen of her. Jaylee McPherson came in at FIU now, captain over there, U20 captain for us as well. Saw her get some game time as well. We're going to talk about her in these highlights we're going to see. And Lola Nesbeth, a player that I wasn't that familiar with going into this window. Obviously, since I've seen her name and stuff, I've done a little research And yeah, she was in the team as well. But she is extremely young. She's only 18 years of age, which you love to see. Um, some youngsters getting a chance. But and she no, this can't be the right person. Lola Nesbitt can't be 18. This girl is actually an English girl that I'm calling Lola Nesbitt. Where is her? I had a tab open with her stuff. Where is she? Too many tabs. All right, I think I may have found. No, again. Yo, where is it? Yo, what's going on? No, that's not that's not the right Lola Nisbet. That's who keeps popping up. I did find her already. Yeah, my family, my immediate family, okay. But I have some extended family. I sent Best Tycoon, and I'm not really sure what going on out there with them, Sweep Sisters has gotten comfortable. Yeah, I think you need that iron there to sharpen the iron, man. And I think Tiana can provide that based on what I've seen. I was able to find some full matches of hers before the window. Watched her play against, I think it was Sporting, them get a beating. But you can tell she's a very good player, and definitely the anchor to that team's defense, where she's playing. So good leadership as well, which is something I think our team, can always do with more of, leadership role type of players. Yeah, so I'm trying to find it. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get the highlights on screen. But these are the players, of course. Trinidad, not so familiar with their players, but yes, that's their starting lineup and bench for any Trinidad fans watching this. No disrespect, I do not know the players so well from Trinidad. All right, but let's go ahead and watch this now, people. We are going to watch the highlights together. All right, so let's get this on the screen. And again, respect to the TNT FA for putting this one out, the extended highlights, so we're able to see it. All right, so let me play this for you guys, and we can see what I go on. All right, yeah, that's perfect. Cool. So let me press play, and we won't have the sound play because that's not what we need. All right, so this is the extended highlights, people, courtesy of TNT FA. So respect to them for the video. But yeah, let's see what's going on. Jodie's no longer at Benfica BM. She moved to Marseille. All right, so here's the kickoff. Kayla kicking off. Sade goes long. All right, so here is the first highlight. Jodie tries the true pass, cut out. And this play right here, that last play from Jodie. Hold on, let me go back. I wish Jodie would have played it to the other side of that defender, but she tried to find a gap there. That's Swaby playing it down the wing. Here's Natasha Thomas showing some good speed, but the cross too close to the keeper. Kayla McKenna and Jodie Brown was inside. That's why I thought maybe Jodie was playing the central role because Thomas keeps on breaking out to the right-hand side. And you see Mia Mitchell there trying to get back in midfield. She was playing in midfield. Looked neat and tidy from what I saw of the highlights on the ball, but I think we might need someone that can cover the ground a little bit better with her. Sade is a good athlete, but I think Sade a little bit newer to the central midfield. I think she's still an attacker at heart, so she needs to work on her defensive work rate, I think, a little bit more. But this is the first goal, which some of you would have seen on the highlights that JFF put out. But that was Jody Brown. Let's go back and watch that play again. So this is Alison Swaby stepping into midfield. Mia Mitchell, tidy. Way to find the pocket by Thomas, and then good movement. Kayla McKenna made the outside run, so Jody filled that space. And it was a very good finish. Just beat her for pace, really, the goalkeeper from Trinidad. And here is the goal from Trinidad. And this right here just kind of shows what I mean about the defensive work rate. Now, Sade doesn't quite recognize the danger. She's kind of half-hearted there, kind of going for it. And I think that's something that she'll develop as she plays midfield more. But you see, Mia Mitchell kind of gets taken out of the play by the player that was knocked down by Tiffany Cameron. And, you kind of want Sade to be a little bit more aggressive here based on how the play unfolds. So these are things that I think, as I said, she has the athleticism and the ability physically to do it. I just think, with her being an attacker most of her career, these are things that she's just gonna have to work on. But a brilliant finish by I think her name is Gosin, I believe. Get her name right. Nikita Gosin, yeah. So brilliant finish by her with the left foot. Can't take nothing away from her. I don't think there was much Sydney could have done on that one. Just a good finish. Sometimes they're just good. Here is another highlight. Tiffany Cameron, it was crossed over by Denden, and the shot was saved onto the post. Here is the corner. Cleared. Falls to Tiffany Cameron again, tries to win it. All right, here's another highlight. Jody Brown finding Thomas. Thomas goes for the strike, and not much power on that one, saved by the keeper. Good turn from McKenna. Good strike as well with her weaker left foot. But McKenna, that's one thing. She can strike the ball well with both feet. Slip from Sade. Cameron's cross is blocked. Ooh, go seen again. Good play. I think this is the halftime whistle. No, okay. Still play on. Sade through to Kayla. Kayla can't quite get to that one. Long ball. Flicked on by Thomas. Here's Jody Brown. Beats one. Finish. Oh, she's trying to pile her again. Why, Jody? Yo, you beat her with the first pile. Good flick on. Don't know what the defender is doing here. Good pile. Finish. Flick it overhead. Left foot something. Anything but that. Chano Jody star. I think that's halftime now. So that could have been what 2-1 on the stroke of halftime, but they went into halftime at 1-1. And you can see Trinidad's coach clapping there. He's happy with the result so far. All right, this is the second half highlights now. So I don't think there were any subs made, but I did see what looked to be a tactical switch. So if you notice, now I've noticed something watching these highlights. I don't know if you did, but it looks like Kayla was playing striker with like almost two players in behind. So it might have even been the back three I was thinking it was, with Tiffany Cameron and then as the two wide midfielders, basically / wing backs. And then you had Mia Mitchell, Sade in that center. So it was kind of like the Manchester United formation with Jody playing where Cunha play and Natasha Thomas playing where Mbuma play. But it looks like in the second half, Natasha went to the striker and switch with Kayla. Give her a chance to play central. Oh, Kayla couldn't get on the end of that. At least that's how they started the half. It looked like from that clip. Here comes Gosin again. She's clearly the danger for Trinidad. Played out wide to Cameron. Cameron whips it in. First time McKenna can't finish. And a good follow-up by Natasha Thomas, her first goal for Jamaica. I think that was her first goal. Maybe it's her second goal. I think it's her first goal. Mia Mitchell late there. Couldn't win that one. Gosin spreads it wide. Lots of space. And a terrible, terrible decision. She went for the shot. Here's Cameron again, looking to cause trouble. Cuts it inside to Sade. Shot blocked. Now cleared. Then with the in-swinger. Far post. And that's off the chest of the substitute. Tiana Harris had come on for Chantel Swaby at this point to play centre back with Allison. And she got the goal off of a ricochet off the keeper. That's Izzy Groves, who came on for Mia Mitchell in midfield. Find Sade. Sade flicks it long. Kiki is on now as well. I think she came on for McKenna. Cuts inside, can't finish, but Jody Brown is there on the doorstep. And that makes it what? 3-1. Good turn from Kiki. Beats one. Beats two. Oh, Kiki almost with the goal of the match. That's Jay Lee playing it short to Den. Now playing into Nesbeth, and Nesbeth can't get on the end of that one. Here's Nesbeth. Plays a through pass. Thomas brings it down. Jay Lee McPherson on the ball. Good through pass to Kiki. Kiki slips. Poor clearance. Falls to Jay Lee McPherson. The shot is a bit weak. Keeper saves that one. So Jay Lee was playing midfield. Interesting. Walker came on eventually. She probably came on for Jody. And well defended at the back post by Butts there. She was playing right back, came on for Tiffany Cameron, but that was full time of the extended highlight. As I said, people, take away can get about 6.5 minutes of some action there. But yeah, don't know what you can really take from that altogether. But Trinidad, an opponent that I think will be facing similar type opponents in some of these games going forward. So I don't think it was the worst idea to play a team like Trinidad in this window. My only hope was that we would have been able to secure a couple of friendlies in this window. There are teams out there playing 3 games in this window, getting ready. Look, 3 would be a stretch, but I would have loved to have figured out some kind of way to get 2 games in this window. We have a lot of other Caribbean nations, I'm sure, are tuning up and gearing up for these qualifiers coming up next month. I wish we could have done more. I know it would have been difficult, especially with what's going on in Jamaica, to host one. But we would have loved to have tried to figure out another place we could have traveled to get one more game in and really make use of this window like we fully should have and could have. Respect for the likes. People were up to 25. Greatly appreciate it. Let me see what the chat has been saying. Squad need to secure 2 new right backs, 1 more left back, 2 new centre backs. Yeah, I don't think that's a lie right there. French league is one of the best in the world. How is she doing? It's very difficult to get the stats. BM, to be honest, the French league is one of the few leagues in the world that you can get full stats on SofaScore. So if you go to Jody Brown and SofaScore right now and you click on her season, it will give you a rundown of our minutes and everything in the league so far, which is great. She's made 4 appearances and started 2 games. She's playing 50 minutes per game. She has no goals, no assists so far. Hasn't had a big chance either. Not the most attacking stats for her so far, to be honest, this season. But yeah, she's there. She's there in the system. Last game she played for them was on the 18th, right before this window started. She made the move in July, and they have played 5 matches, Marseille, I believe, and she has not made the bench for one of them. But yeah, she's started 2 and made 2 sub appearances, so she's getting some game time, which is good. And you're right, the French league, I think, is the up there. I would say maybe the NWSL in the US might be a touch better overall, but the French league, I think, in Europe just shades the English league for me. Blessings Lee Young. Sade is a stylish baller that does not tackle. If it was to save her life. Yeah, look, but I think physically she has the attributes that she could, It's just some. I don't think it's like one of her attributes that just comes naturally to her, because like I said, I've always known her to be an attacker. So it's you're not gonna just overnight get these instincts, but it can be coached into her. Is Bonnie Shaw injured? At the moment, no, Lee Young, she's not injured. The way it was explained to us by the coach was that when after they consulted with Manchester City's doctor team and their coaching staff and everything, they decided to not release her for this friendly, but definitely just let her continue to, manage her load. Not add a travel and then playing games on what is, we have to be honest, not the best surfaces. It wasn't probably the smartest move with a busy period coming up for City, and then also expecting her to be released for the actual World Cup qualifiers coming up end of November, early December. So, yeah, I think they just took the decision not to call her for this window. Jodie was trying to chip the keeper. No, BM, she wasn't. She was actually trying to pile the player again. Bonnie not injured. Agreement made, not forward for this game. Yeah, exactly. Not too forward. Bless up, float, wagwan. Yeah, man. Respect for the check-in, my bro. Why haven't they tried to host one in like Florida and try and steal one of the opponents USA or Mexico are playing? Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been a nice thing, maybe. Not sure why they wouldn't have looked into that, but my thing that I think is, I think right now, with the Reggae Boyz campaign so close to the end in terms of getting to this World Cup, I just feel like the JFF really don't want to take any of those eggs out of that basket right now. And I'm just speculating that Africans, but I just feel like the Trinidad one was easier. They have a relationship with them. I'm sure if the main expense was getting the players to camp, they were trying to keep those expenses down. And again, this is speculation. I don't know, but that's my only reason for thinking is just one game. Is that it's just the cost of it. Let's just do the one. Emphasize camp time, training time. So they have been together for quite a long time. So they did get a lot of time on pitch for once. Usually it's just one day and then you play a game and then you travel and then you play another game, and you don't really get training time in the window. So they got a lot of time training. That's great. But some of the players who were there to get that training weren't there. So there's that too. Bless up, Jagarns. Respect again, and thanks so much for being a member, and El Meeks as well. We greatly appreciate that. I hope Jodie can refine her skills in France. Yeah, that's the hope, BM. That's the hope. French league is to me top 3 in the world, but they are closer to the men's German league. Leon and everyone else, in my opinion. Yeah, well, look, I think Leon is just a cheat code team, to be honest. I think Leon is just better than, I think Leon and Barcelona are 2 cheat code teams. And a lot of the other clubs are really good, but it's just not cheat codes like Leon and Barcelona, And other teams have talent and they have good physical capability to maybe beat the cheat code every now and again. Even Arsenal gave Leon a decent enough game the other day, but those 2 teams are, and just keep getting better. Yeah, we have Lindsay in midfield and we have Melky Dumane. So let's just go get the best 18-year-old in the world, Lily, from from the US. Let's go get Lily from Ajax, wherever she was. It's just like ridiculous. They just get the best players every year. Barcelona the same. Arsenal trying a thing though. They're doing the Chelsea Man City version of the women. They're buying everybody. Which I thought we were gonna go for the Bon Marty and Vicky Lopez thing, but I guess that was just rumors. I think to have a long camp to make a final look at some players. Yeah. So look, Reggae Girlz. Let's just take a look real quick before we move on from them at what we have to look forward to where they are concerned. Just a reminder of all of that. Let me see. CONCACAF. All right, so the schedule announced for the W qualifiers. Now we've been over this stuff before on the channel, but always good to just refresh everyone's memory, keep it in your psyche. Leading up to these games, we'll do some more form checks for the Reggae Girlz going into the game, and just see that there are players out there that are getting the game time. But this is what we know. Jamaica is in a group with Guyana, Nicaragua, Dominica, and Antigua and Barbuda. Jamaica's first game will be in this end of November, early December window, and that game will be at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia. I believe it's on the 2nd. No, it's not. When is the damn game? Here it is. It's on the 29th of November. And that will be played at, I think, 2 o'clock local time for them. I believe 3 o'clock my time. So, yeah, that's the first game of the campaign, and that will be Dominica versus Jamaica. Now, in that window right there, that's the only game that Jamaica will play. We'll not see the Reggae Girlz again until the February-March window when we'll face Nicaragua. And I believe that Nicaragua game is also an away game. And that window we will also just have the one game, and then in April we'll have some games to host finally: Jamaica, Antigua, Barbuda, and I think this window is actually 2 games. Let me see, and Jamaica and Guyana, and that should conclude this first part of the qualifiers, when you will get into the W championships after that, right? So 4 games, and then we see your fate. If you're top of the group, you will move to be added into the top 2 teams, and then you'll go straight into that W championship. So Jamaica, I would say massive favorites to get out of this group. So let's see if we can do what we're supposed to. And my hope is that we, even though these opponents might not be the greatest challenge for us, even though these opponents might not be the greatest challenge for us, hopefully we do the right thing and select the right squads and go ahead and start to gel the top players together throughout this entire process. That is my hope, because sometimes we end up doing these things at the youth level and it trickles up to senior level where, oh, let's see what opponents we're playing, let's call the players based on that. No, these players need to play together, get bedded in, constantly bringing new players in. Any chance you get, put them together, let them play together and build that chemistry. That's my take on that. And the Reggae Girlz, look, hopefully the next window where you're much more visible to us. I know some Instagram posts were placed like Rob Smith was saying, but to me, like, it's, I'm not saying it needs to be the equal coverage that we get from Reggae Boyz and Reggae Girlz, but it doesn't need to be such a wide disparity of coverage, surely we can designate some people to the Reggae Girlz as well, and have them have the same ability to create content while they're in camp, because people just want to be a part of things. And you have this JFF live space that had this big push, people joining it and everything. Come on, give the folks something. That's the only thing I would say about the Reggae Girlz and their coverage. Definitely a lot to be desired there. All right. Any info on the National Stadium after the hurricane? Just general information, Tycoon, that it was just minor damage there. I haven't heard like what that minor damage is, but based on what I'm hearing, nothing serious enough to say, the qualifier on the 18th would have to be moved or anything like that. So that's good news, basically. Taylor Hines got a run against Australia, didn't look bad. Still think she's way down the line on the line squad. The Mall, I don't know why you said that, because they were playing center backs with no left foot at left back in every competition for the past 3. So they don't have a left back that's that good to me. Niamh Charles is at Chelsea, but I don't think she's better than Taylor Hines. And she actually plays right back, to be honest. She doesn't play left back. Alex Greenwood is really a centre back. Yes, she can play left back, but I think she's a better centre back than left back. So I don't think she's that far down the line at all, the Mall. I think that's wishful thinking on your part. This group is butter for the girls. The real thing starts next year in November. Yeah, I just want the girls that are gonna be playing next November to play against the butter as well, and go ahead and build that camaraderie, that chemistry, that those relationships on the pitch. That's my hope. Do not pick teams based on, oh, it's Dominica this window, or, oh, let's not bother this player at this club because it's this team. No, it's the World Cup qualifiers. Take them as serious as possible. You don't see these bigger nations when they have qualifiers to play not picking their best. They just go and they try to win the game by a lot and build confidence. So that's what we need to be doing as well. That is what we need to be doing as well. So BM, I take your point. Butter, soup, whatever you want to call it, but put your best players in there as well. Let them play together, because we don't get ample opportunities. These are the opportunities, these games. We don't have friendlies anymore. There's no windows for that. Kingston wasn't hit that hard. The stadium should be fine. Yeah, I just heard minor damage, like minor things. Nothing crazy. So that is good. Soup, exactly. The word of the year. All right, so look, we're gonna just take a quick look before we get into some of the Reggae Boys form at some of the youth teams. Now, I kind of just have it kind of broad, U17, U20, and this kind of goes for both genders as well in terms of what I'm going to talk about. And you see on the thumb on the title, there's a part of it that says poor recruitment, and this is basically based on the youth teams. Now, for the male side especially, I think that we are definitely not doing a good enough job of at least having the information of the available players, right? Um, and that is like probably the least of the requirements if you're really going to recruit players from overseas to play for your nation. Just having information on them, I would struggle with just that. Now, obviously, if you're doing it correctly, you would have a scouting dossier on players who are available. You identify, you send certified scouts to go and watch them over a period of time, and then they will then present a report to the technical staff or whoever needs to see what they need to know about this player, and then judgments can be made based on when camps are coming up. But I think the way it's being done right now is very haphazard. I've heard stories that people that just maybe have sons or daughters that play in the academy, system in America, let's say, they might be at tournaments and wear Jamaican memorabilia, Jamaican kit, Jamaican jacket, whatever. And people will come up to them asking if they are from the federation because they have a son or a daughter or something there that would like to be seen by the coaching staff from Jamaica. And that is just crazy. So um, I just, my question to the JFF is really and truly, you know, is it that you don't want to know the players, or is it that you don't see it as important to know the players? Because I think what ends up happening is we the model that we use now, which I'm not saying can't be used, right? Because if most of your technical staff, most of your support staff are in Jamaica, I would want them then to be extremely well versed with the players that they can see right there in Jamaica, right? But sad to say, even that aspect of it, I think, doesn't happen with the proper framework in place to ensure that we're catching all the talent that we could catch, right? So if we're having trouble in the island itself with the scouts and everybody in place of making sure that we're finding all the talent we can find, um, if we don't have any people in place overseas, like formal people, besides like, somebody that used to play for a U20 that lives now and coaches here, so you kind of call them every now and again to ask if they have a player, because that's kind of what I hear whenever I speak to people who are involved, whether formally or informally, with these youth teams, that everything is so haphazard. And it's like, okay, we have camps in the early phase. I would kind of say, why in these particular areas we're really struggling, you know. So then now you're on this wild goose chase to find certain specific players. Then maybe in that search for players, now we end up wasting resources sometimes because we have to just take the word of a person that's saying, hey, this guy is good, he plays this position, he comes to the camp, and it's like, man, this guy is terrible, because that's stories that you hear all the time with these youth camps. So again, no framework in place is going to equal bad results every time, right? If we don't set up some kind of system to say, okay, these are the MLS academies, these are the age groups that we are going to be interested in looking at over the next 2 years. Who are the players, just off the top of your head, or first off, how do you find out which players are eligible by heritage? How do you then get in contact with those players to have them submit details about themselves, height, weight, position, blah, 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 right? Now, if you at least were starting from that point, then you could at least know, okay, we're getting a call from someone in Indiana, and they have a son that plays at X club. Now, this club is not an MLS club. It's not an ECNL, which is the elite club system. You know, they're just a club in Indiana that has won some regional kind of thing, and he won the MVP for a tournament there a couple of times and blah, blah, blah. Now, if we had a framework in place, we would say, okay, what position does he play? He's a central midfielder. Oh, right now, currently, in our database and pool of players that we're looking to select for camps, we have 8 MLS Academy players that we're going to look at first. There's no framework like that in place to be making these decisions based on anything other than, I don't even know what they're based on some of the time. And I think all of these things happening really are a byproduct of not having any kind of framework in place to begin with to really structure the recruitment. Because these horror stories of players coming and not being good that you hear, right? Oh, we got so many players from this one academy, and there's only one of them really that's that good. Well, have you ever stopped to think and wonder, well, if we're getting so many from this one academy, if we had actually looked at the other academies as well, how many more could we have added to this to see how many of them are actually good? So now we might end up with one good player because we're laser focused on this one place, because you have one link to that place. We haven't tried to get any links to the other places. We don't care enough to go and look, right? And so what ends up happening is it's a domino effect, because the player that we end up using to represent us as an overseas-based player is actually, if we had a framework in place, maybe the 10th best option of all the players we could have gotten. So then the narrative becomes, why are we going to look for overseas players if they ain't that good? When in all honesty, we have overseas players who would actually be better or just as good as the best we produce on the island, right? But we don't have anything in place to actually get those players here to play for us. We don't have it. We don't have it. And at this point, I'm beginning to think it's because we don't really want to have it. We would rather operate from the standpoint of, let's fill the team out with as much talent as we can find on the island. And you know, CONCACAF has kind of helped us with this lately, because they have this thing where there's like a feeder to the actual championship that's going to qualify you for a World Cup for a lot of the age groups, like U20. Even the women's doing it now with the World Cup. And so like in the U20, for example, the last cycle, we had a different looking team for the most part to what we saw for the next team. And what we heard was, okay, we can use this because we have these beliefs, and I forget the teams right now, but we had 3 teams that were winnable games in our minds, right? And we made not easy work of those games, but we got through. And the thought process was, when we get to the bigger tournament now with the harder opponents, we can do some more recruiting, which never really happens because we don't have a framework in place to find the players. And even sometimes when we find the players, the obstacles they're met with and some of the narratives used to decide is really puzzling to me. It's really puzzling to me. But without that framework in place, people, of a scouting network where we are tracking these players, and I'm not saying to expand and use all your resources to make sure you're catching every Division 2 and Division 3 college player. No, I'm saying you start with the cream, and they have it tiered in the United States for you. You don't have to check. Same in England. You can know which clubs are the ones that are higher level, and you go look at those first. If you're not finding players there, you go down a level, and then you assess where the levels are compared to what you have. But we're not doing that, people. We're not doing that. And I think sometimes we even get players in who aren't that good just to prove the point that some have, that, yeah, we don't need to be recruiting so much because, look, we brought in these 10 guys and only 2 of them are good enough to make the team. Well, where the hell did you find these 10 guys? I could have told you based on where they play and their level that they wouldn't be that good. But, you know, like I said, not all overseas players are equal, and not all local players are equal. You know what I'm saying? So you have to put everything into context for each player. But I think the problem is, it's like everyone wants to have the haha, I told you so moment, and we keep trying to get to it again. We did it in 2011. I think that was the aha, get you moment. You know, we kept that team together for a time, and you know, we didn't really break that team up, and they qualified. And we've been trying to chase that formula since 2011 with not the best results. Now, some will say, boy, we're one game away the last few times. Yes, but one game away doesn't get us into the World Cup. Remember that, people. One game away will never get us into a World Cup. All right? So we could keep on finishing one game away. We can't keep saying, but we were one game away. If the end goal is to get to these World Cups and really get us on the map of football at the youth level as well, because to me, when you get to a World Cup and you have these players on the World Cup team, for a lot of these players, it's going to be too late to take advantage of them playing in the World Cup. But when you have a U17 team in the World Cup, when you have a U20 team in the World Cup, and it's happening over and over, then guess what? More eyes will be on Jamaica for the younger players to get opportunities to go places, right? And that is a fact. You can see it. Look at for example, like a Panama, for example. Yes, Panama might not be exporting players to the Premier League, but that entire team now doesn't play in Panama anymore for the most part. Most of them do not play in Panama. They play in South America. They play in other Central American leagues. They play in the MLS. They play in Europe, but maybe not England, but they'll be in other countries, Portugal's of the world, France. So and I think that's a byproduct of them making World Cups and their youth teams also making the World Cups. And those things kind of have a domino effect. Same with Costa Rica. A lot of their younger players getting opportunities earlier now. And I think that has aided them in even being in the conversation to make this World Cup at the senior level for men. Because if you look at who has really turned it around for Costa Rica, yes, they have Carl and the Watson and the Calvo still doing this thing, but it's the Alcacers and the Vargas and them guys of the world, Galdes, those are the ones really making it happen for them, mixed in with the experience. So I just feel like we're missing the trick because we do have a lot of talent and we do have a lot of players that could potentially play for us. But again, I just don't think we really take it seriously enough where scouting is concerned, where databases are concerned. Look, I have heard that there are players right now. We just had a camp for the U17, and there are still players reaching out to not the JFF directly. They're reaching out to people that they know might know people in the JFF because they are worried that if they reach out to the JFF, nobody will hear about it. This can't be happening in 2025, people. It can't be a situation where there's an email that's known to the public for the person that is involved with the youth football on the managerial side, right? And people know that this is the person, but it's hard to get to this person and this person might not respond. That can't be a situation that is actually happening right now in this day and age. It can't. I'm sorry, I can't accept that. So if we're not going to take it seriously, just be honest with ourselves and say we're not going to take it seriously. But if don't run this game like, yes, we're looking, but the ones that really are good don't want to play, because that's really the thing. We don't really get those top class because they're still waiting and all this stuff. No youth team binds you to any country, so don't give me that crap about they don't want to play for us because they can play for. No, let's try. I'd rather you tell me that we called him and they didn't come because they went to play for X. Don't tell me that we didn't call them because they might not come. Don't tell me that. Kerry showed all the players that's in the U17, tons of players. There you go. No. But I'm saying those players from the MLS, like those players are tenfold, 20-fold. And those players it's like happenstance why we get these players to even come to camps. And then when the narrative comes out that these players aren't that good, then the story becomes, oh, we don't need to be bringing these players because look, 20 of them came and only 3 of them made the team. No, it's because we aren't picking the right players to come. Literally half of them come from all of them come from like 2 teams. That can't be. How is that possible? I know there's other Jamaican diaspora players in the other ones. Sad they have a very interesting decision to make with U17 competitions every year till 2030. They should be running camps every window and selling players on the idea of 2 years together minimum. Yeah. So that's been an argument as well, Africans. As you know, that U15 team that just played in the CONCACAF League B, they would be in line to be, they're what, 2010s. So they would have like this cycle and next that they could play. And some of the narrative was let's try to keep the core of that team together and add into it with 09s that are, really quality and just have them do 2 in a row. Now, I was totally against that, but I do agree with you that they should have, when they have camps, they should just have both age groups, whether it's they're going to be mixed and play together to form one, or you're going to roll with most of the 09s, and then the really great 10s can maybe make the squad as well. But they should be in tandem with each other, since we know that next year it's going to repeat itself. Why not have them in and around all of this? It shouldn't be about poor recruitment. If we're interested in football, the conversation should be about the poor development locally. JG will agree. Yeah, look, again, I think a lot of times we get caught up in the recruitment development thing, and we make it seem like if we're doing one of the things, the development won't happen. Like, both things can be driving on the same road, parallel to each other. So we're getting to a point. So, like, better recruitment does not mean poor development now. That's the thing. Like, I don't know, those things are married and they don't need to be. We can be recruiting well and we can be developing well at the same damn time. Like Future said, which Jamaican parent in football does not know how to contact the JFF? It's not that they don't know, it's that when they contact them, they don't hear anything. I feel like even the idea of having regional scouts must be so dysfunctional for the JFF. Yeah, it is, because really and truly, there's already a bias towards the larger areas where football is played. And so having regional scouts, I don't think it really helps with that. I think the better thing to do would be you have a set of scouts and they trade territories. So I don't want my quote unquote East regional scout always watching East players. I want to send him to the West for like a month and say, this month you go West, you go, and that way they can compare and contrast, and then it's actually a scouting network, as opposed to one guy being over this whole area, and whatever he wants to do in that area, he has the power to do. I think this player is better than this player. No one there to say why. Why you think this? I've been doing this for a long time and I just know. I don't think that's enough in this day and age. I think most of the people learning on the job, JFF have to change the way they do things. It's not that hard. It's called communication. They lack vision. I like the way you break down solutions. Yeah, because we can't just be here beating them and don't give them a way to get things better. But I think it really starts from just data compiling. I feel like we're terrible at that. We kind of don't see the importance in it. But without compiling data, there's no way to go back and see what we did, what can we improve. And Cranky is somebody I always hear talking about this. Where is the analysis of what has happened so that we can next time do better? We don't take that seriously enough. It definitely, politics plays a part, definitely. Texicana dead with laugh. Mr. Cranky unblock me now, it seems. It's about time. It's just business and nothing personal. Right, Gunners boss. If somebody now block you, something wrong. El Meeks said the recruitment process is by design and really serves JFF stakeholders. Yeah, well, look, El Meeks, to me, I think that it's very hard, like, because they always say, you can't level certain things at them because there's no proof. But it's like, you don't need to have it spelled out in your face for there to be proof of something, at least not in my eyes, Access to a Whole Foods, but still shops at Bucky's. Yes, very good analogy. Very good analogy. Panama and Costa Rica focus on their exports. We focus on recruiting, and JPL, our exports are ignored. Now, that is a very good point, Rob Smith. And that is also a point as well as far as the recruitment goes, because in my whole time talking about recruitment, I missed one thing that I was meaning to bring up, which is we have players that represent us at, let's say, U15, U17 level. And some of those players, instead of continuing through the schoolboy ranks, they will leave and go to play, for argument's sake and for getting quality's sake, they play D1 soccer in the United States, right? And because we have a rule, or I wouldn't even say it's a rule, but we're trying at the U20 level to go to pro players only, right? Now, my thing is this: if that's the rule, fine, because I think that rule makes sense. Most of the players we're going to play at the U20 level, at a good level around the world, they're going to be professional level players at that age, right? So I have no problem with trying to have a pro team in my under 20 ranks. Now, the issue that I have is this: what ends up happening is we pick players that are in JPL clubs who really and truly have just played schoolboy football because they haven't really played for their JPL clubs as yet, right? And then we pick them and slap their club team name on there to kind of say, oh, see, we're picking pro players, but they haven't played, right? So you know, now we have eliminated potentially a player that 3-4 years ago you thought was good enough when he was playing for the Georges or the Excelsior or the Manning School or the Stets or whichever school, for the U17s or the U15s. But since he has gone and left Jamaica now and he's playing D1 soccer, which is not professional, he's no longer better than players that are still playing schoolboy and are a part of JPL clubs in an amateur capacity because they still go to school and they don't really play, right? So we make these statements about pro, but then we kind of use that same statement to kind of phase out players that maybe could have helped us in the end. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, if I make a rule about pro players, I'm not going to pick D1 college players at the same time, because those players are probably going to, if they are at the level that I would want to even have them in a camp to see them, they're probably good players, if they're coming to my camp at least. And then more than likely their progression is going to be to turn pro. So I'm not going to not pick that person because he's not at that stage of his personal progression yet, because some people decide to take that route, right? So yeah, you're right. They focus on their exports, and we focus on recruiting. I feel like we need to broaden our focus, because we say we're focused on developing, but I think we're not doing that well enough. So let's go ahead and continue to work on our development, right? Which I think they're taking the steps with the coaching and they're trying to improve all of that, right? Which everyone has told us is going to take time. So in the meantime, instead of recruiting players, bringing them over that we didn't really recruit, we just kind of knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and that's how they came. Let's actually recruit them and know if they're good before wasting, or not wasting, but before using resources on players that never had a chance to make a team anyway. That's all I'm saying, right? Because we can't focus on exporting players and recruit. It's not impossible to do both things. That's what we need to get in our heads. They only want overseas money. They don't want the people. You see the hypocritical. Yeah, look. I mean, there's a lot of hypocritical behavior in Jamaica football. That is a fact. Indeed. See you in our U17 group, Jason. There's another Chuku still. Yeah, I mean, they'll never die. They will never not be Chukus, you know. I think for the next 15 years, Canada's youth teams and main team will have a Chuku. Anyone hear nothing from Travis? No, haven't heard anything from Travis Brownman Security, and that's unlike him, because you know Travis is a person that, regardless of if he's liked or disliked on a YouTube space, he will drop his comments and his like and everything. And yeah, so haven't seen him. I haven't really been. I think I've seen Cranky do a show of late. I haven't really seen any evening time shows lately, which obviously is to be expected with what's going on, you know. All right, so look, we are a little bit into the show, so I want to give some time now to the Reggae Boyz and what they have going on leading into this window. Now, we have coming up what I think is probably the most crucial two games in Reggae Boyz history since probably the last window that we were going to face Mexico in 1997 in November. So as far as World Cup qualifiers go, definitely the biggest window we had, you know, ever since then. And of course, you know, all of you will know by now, we play Trinidad away on the 13th, and then the final game of the window, which will be simultaneous with all the other games in this round for all the groups, will be on the 18th of November at the National Stadium. So all right, Joseph Brown has a question about the youth before we move on. How come I don't hear anything about the elite youth program? It seems like it was a sham or just a one-off thing and they pivoted off it. It could work, but need patience and play the long game. No, Joseph Brown, it's actually the only thing that I know is that the guy who was the coach that was heading it up, he has taken a job elsewhere. So I don't know who has been sent to continue that work. as far as the TDS, like, coach is concerned, but the program still exists. It's not like it's not happening still. Yeah, the U15 came out of that. Yeah, it's still happening still. But Joseph Brown has a point in that there's a bit of uncertainty with it right now because the instructor that was here, left to take on another post. I think he's now either TD or head coach of a nation now. So yeah. Jamaica make this World Cup, it will be historic based on the hurricane. The world eye is on Jamaica. This can be a great story. Tycoon, that is so true. All these, companies and entities, they love a comeback story, right? A underdog story. And when you factor in, obviously Jamaica's not an underdog in the group when you look at the opponents, but the predicament that we're going to be in as a nation right now, it does create that, okay, let's rebuild, let's now have the comeback story, the success story of how Jamaica went from depleted on the western end of the island to boom, 6 months later, whatever time later, this is what we're able to rebuild. So definitely the stories are there to be made, right? And you're right. I think that right now Jamaica is in the consciousness of a lot of people around the world. And with these World Cup qualifiers coming up, it will just be another way for people to, know that, yeah, Jamaica just went through what they went through, but look what they were able to achieve. They're going to be playing in the next World Cup in America, right? So, or America or Canada or Mexico. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think this can definitely be used in terms of a tool to just galvanize relief and support. And then if we are able to get to the World Cup now, just to tie it into what happened just 3 weeks before we're going to play that game against Curacao at the stadium, which for all intents and purposes will be the game that we know if we made it to the World Cup or not from this group. 3 points in that game, and we pretty much are in the World Cup. So, yeah, if the end of this story, this saga, this drama that Hurricane Melissa brought culminates with a victory against Curacao and a trip to the World Cup, then that's definitely the stuff that Hollywood salivates over. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely the storyline is there. It's set up for us to have this great celebration after all this tragedy. And I think it's something that we can all agree that regardless of what end of the spectrum you fall on, whether it's local or overseas or blah blah blah, the regular argument we always have in these chats, no one will be upset if we qualify for the World Cup, right? So if there was ever a time when we were to come together, it would be after qualifying for the World Cup. I think it's always noted that the most peaceful day in Jamaica for like the past 50 years was the day after we qualified for the World Cup. So that just goes to show you what it can do to the psyche of a country, and also just the belief that it will give. When people feel like they want to give up, just knowing that, oh, again, Jamaica made it back to the World Cup. Like this will hopefully, just give somewhat of a feel good factor. Obviously, we've talked earlier, you can't replace everything that you lose, but as long as you have life, you can at least work towards getting those things back to somewhat of a normalcy. And I just feel like that boost that it could give the country would be great. All right, Joseph Brown and Rob Smith. Keep the gloves on, man. It's all right. It's gonna be all right. But no, I see you guys just chilling, having a con. But that is it. All right. So let's move into the Reggae Boyz forum now. So this is the segment where we really talk about what's going on with the Reggae Boyz and who are play football and what's going on. So the first thing I saw this going around. It's been something that was brought up. I was talking with someone else about playing time for the Reggae Boyz and what our squad really and truly looks like when it comes down to the players that actually have played for us. I was just basing it off of the last window and like what their seasons have been like at their clubs in terms of game time, right? And it didn't really make for the best viewing. It didn't really make for the 198, says Conrad. Big up yourself. It really doesn't make for the best viewing when you look at the actual numbers. So to kind of make it a little more clearer what I'm talking about, this is the Jamaica Curacao game, right? And these were the starters in that game. So Andre Blake, he's a starter at Philly. Obviously, he's had his issues with injuries, but he has been played his first playoff game, did well in the penalty shootout there. So they won the first game of their series. I think I'm not sure when they play again, but I think they should have at least one more before the window. Let me just double check something here. Philly. Yeah, so if they win this one, they will advance, and that's on the 11th. That's on the 1st, sorry. They're hopeful to get through this game with a win, and then they won't need this third game back in Philly on the 8th. So that will give him some time to just ease up until coming for those crucial games in that window in November. So Blake, not a player that I'm really overly concerned with. Of course, he's a goalkeeper as well. So really and truly just want to hope that he's playing, and he is back playing. He's played 2 games since. He's going to play one more in the playoffs as well. Had a good game in this game as well, even though they did concede 2 goals late. Really none were his fault. Before that, he had made some top class saves to keep it at 2-0. So and he did save a penalty and cause another miss in the shootout as well. So yeah, good form coming into this window. I think definitely better form than the last one. Was a bit up and down, I thought, coming into the last one, but I think he looks more healthy now. I still don't know if he's 100%, but I would say if he was at 60, 65 last window, I think that's up to closer in the 80s now. So it should be a better version of Andre Blake this go around. Now, Ethan Pinnock, it's another player who started against Curacao, also started the second game. And we know his struggles so far this season in the EPL. When you look at his EPL stats, he's only played in 2 fixtures way back in September on the 13th and the 20th. He did start both of those games, though. He did last 79 minutes per. So a total of 157 minutes played in the Prem. Now, that's not all he's playing this season. So let's take a look at all of his statistical breakdowns. So we have what else did he play? Didn't he play the cup? The cup qualifying. So I don't have the EFL Cup. Yeah, so he did play in the. Let me see. Did he play another cup game before this? Yeah, okay. So he played the first cup game. This was last season. All right, so he played the first cup game and he played 60 minutes. That's what, 217 minutes overall. And not counting international minutes, just what he did at Brentford. And then he played a full 90 in the cup this week, which was good to see in a 5-0 win. So I was looking and checking it out, and I was hopeful that maybe there's another cup game before the window, but no, there is none. So barring injury to one of the centre backs or a change of system to a back 3 type of system with 3 centre backs, I don't think that Pinnock will get more game time or meaningful or significant, I should say, not meaningful, but significant game time before he reports for Jamaica in the November window. Of course, hopeful that he doesn't pick up any injuries or anything in training or anything like that. So Pinnock, you see his lack of minutes. I think overall this season, just a total of about 300 minutes from a possible 16, 17 games that his club has played. So not the most in terms of just match fitness and just overall minutes in the tank to get you prepared for our international window. Now, Richard King, he has started 4 of his 8 appearances playing 57 minutes per game. And some people might see that and say 57 minutes per game. That's not great. But to be honest, people, Richard King, that 57 puts him, in like the top 5 for the entire squad in terms of minutes per game in this season. No, he has played some Scottish League Cup as well, playing 3, starting 3, playing 4 in those, playing a lot more minutes per game. So 314 plus 458. That's what, 7. 772 minutes so far this season. So 8 appearances and 4, that's 12. 772 divided by 12. So that's about 64 minutes a game total. So yeah, 64 minutes when you put League Cup in it. And I'm telling you, that's like top 5. So King is one of the most playingest players we have. Dexter Lembikisa, but this was really, really, really painful to see when I saw this. So Dexter only played, let's see, so he played some EFL trophy. He made an appearance in the league on October the 25th. So we love that. That's the most recent game. And he came on and played 20 minutes. So that's his first appearance in League One since he made the move to Lincoln City. He's been getting his games in the EFL trophy. This was way back on September the 30th when he was still at Wolves, playing for them for the U21. And I don't think he played anywhere else besides that. I think he did play some PL2 this year. Yeah, 3 games, 90 minutes. And this was way back. Yeah, that was way back in August before that first window we played. Went back to Lincoln, played a trophy match for them against Man U21s. Had a good game there. Came to play the 2 games and then went back and finally got onto the pitch on the weekend. And then yesterday was an unused sub again in their draw with Bradford. So Dexter Lembikisa, look, obviously he's been a right back for a time, and good performances as well. Fan favorite. A lot of fans like him. But brother, the man ain't playing no football. He ain't playing no football. But when you compare those in the squad, there's others playing more than him. But I think outside of that, when you look at those not in the squad, there's other players playing more than him too. So the coach is just gonna have to balance it. Like, is it the time for wholesale changes? Probably not. But what's important right now? The form of the players, what kind of fitness they're in, or is it more important to just stick with the players that we've been using? Like, I really don't have the right answer to these questions, to be honest. I'm just trying to put the info out there that these guys really and truly ain't playing. Like, share, and subscribe. Respect Drew. Thanks so much for letting them know. Chippy missed a goal yesterday. I have no idea why him tried that with his right foot and not the left. And have him gone on him and try to use a stick. Well, Rob Smith is probably because with the way he controlled the ball was literally right on his right foot. So he was like, let me do the right thing and not run around it to use my left. That's probably why. I don't even think Pinnock is third choice anymore. Why you say that though? Because in the Prem, I think he is, because even in the game yesterday, they really don't have like a fourth choice, because Pinnock was the starter with Vandenberg, and then Vandenberg played 60 minutes and come off for the other Premier League starter, Collins. So there wasn't another centre back there to play. So I don't know why I don't think he's even third choice anymore. He is. King is the only CDB playing any minutes. That's a fact. Holgate played a cup game recently, but nothing in the league. Low out, Lati out. That's true. After a good start to the season, Norman Campbell struggling for form in Denmark. Yeah, Pinnock and King are the only ones really actually playing, and Pinnock is not really playing, to be honest. Yeah, it was a great start. I think that September window would have been the window to give him another chance, but every time I go back and I look at his form, it's not quite getting to the levels of the early part of the campaign or the early part of this last round in September and August. So yeah, I think that's his big issue. And also, we have players that, regardless of what they do at club, get picked every time. So I think that's hurting Campbell as well. What has happened to Dexter? Remember, a couple years ago, people thought he was pushing for a Wolves spot. 2 years now, he's struggling for game. Yeah, I can't really call it, because I don't really see much different in how he played from 2 years ago. Like, well, maybe that's a part of the problem. Maybe he's not developed at the level that we would have liked. But yeah, I just think, honestly, what's preventing him from that next level and getting more consistent at the next level is his ball retention. I think he loses the ball too much. Been reported Denzel Hall will be called up, another option at right back. Ian Frey is getting decent minutes and playing well. Yes, he is. All right, so that is a couple of the players that started. King, Pinnock, Lembikis are not playing. Amari Bell, this is one of the ones that was actually one of the nicer ones to view, because overall, Amari is averaging about 80 odd minutes per game, which is rare for our players. 84 in the league. I don't think he's played at the cup games at all. Okay, he did play 45 minutes in this one, but yeah, he's averaging, you know, high 70s, low 80s in minutes so far this season. Interestingly, the last couple of games he's played in the champ, he has actually been playing what you call it. He's been playing a more advanced role. If you look right here against Charlton, which is the most recent game, which was played on the weekend, his heat map with a lot more attacking areas, and that's mainly because when you look at this game itself and you look at the lineup that started, Amari Bell actually was being used as a wing back. So typically this year he's either been in a back four as a left centre back, or he's been the left centre back in a back five, in a back three. The last couple of games though, Amari Bell has played more advanced. The game against Hull and also the game against Ipswich that they won 3-0. If you look right here, Amari Bell played in the back five, but as the wing back, not as that more central player in the team. And you can see, still did his defending, but definitely getting some touches and a good amount of them in the opponent's half, which we haven't seen from him as much at Charlton this season so far. Even in this one against Sheffield Wednesday, you can see the heat map even much more advanced in this one. Again, starting position as in the back five, but definitely much more license to go forward. And that's been a switch because before the last window, you look at like the Preston game, this is actually the one game he didn't start, but when he came on for Burke and was slotted into that back three. And then the game before that, like most of the others, you will see Amari Bell. Okay, so he did play attacking a game before that too. So they've been switching it up with him of late. Blackburn. Let me check the Blackburn one. Yeah, so this is where I've seen him up until this point. And then he started to play a little bit more advanced the last few games. So showing his versatility, but really and truly, the main thing, just getting minutes to play. Now, Ian Frey, he started in midfield, which I think was a huge mistake in hindsight for this game. But as you can see, they're in the playoffs. Inter Miami is already through to the next round, I believe, because it's a best of three, and they beat Nashville twice. So they'll be waiting for their next opponent. But when you look at the MLS season for Ian Frey, this is what it looks like in terms of minutes. So you got a 6.81 rating for the season. 22 appearances, 14 starts. He's playing 60 minutes per game in the MLS. 1 goal, 3 assists over that course of the season. Other than that, this season, I believe he played some Leagues Cup. Should be somewhere on here. Yeah, so he played some Leagues Cup and some FIFA World Cup, Club World Cup. So he had 3 starts in the Leagues Cup, playing 68 minutes per game. And then the Club World Cup, he played two games starting both 85 minutes per game. So definitely can't say that Ian Frey has not put in a lot of running and minutes in the season, especially when you compare to the rest of the team, right? So Ian Frey, definitely, I think, we should be looking at him to play a more significant role, I think, at right back, especially in the next window. Dexter, I think, is pretty much proven at this point that based on his lack of game time, he can't give you 2 90-minute games. So we need to assess the 2 opponents, and maybe we decide which one makes more sense for this opponent, which one makes more sense for that opponent, and we choose the players accordingly. Because I don't believe that Dexter can play both 90-minute games, even to start. And no, he would have to come off. I wouldn't even do that. I would let him come on in whatever game he didn't start in this window. And there's also an alternative world where we find a right back that's actually playing more than Dexter. But due to the fact that I know that this coach does value, continuity as well as trying to find foreign players, I don't think Dexter will be dropped. So we just need to be smart about how we play them in this next window. That would be my thing I'd be talking about. Dexter 23-24 should be in a top league by now. He has regressed. I just think he's the same and he hasn't progressed. Yeah, I don't know if he's regressed. I just think he's the same and he hasn't progressed. I wouldn't mind trying Frey at right back. Yeah, that's where he should play. Ian Frey should start on that right side if Dexter lack playing time for his club. Fitness will be a factor in these games. Facts. Bell seemed to be back at left back. Yeah, it looks that way. D-Lo, you need for forward at Arnett. Hope G stay fit. Don't understand this decision to join Houston. Well, they're out the playoffs now, so his long term, his short term career there is over. Or his short career there is over, I should say. Dexter plays a lot better when he gets help from whosoever plays is playing on the same wing with him. That is true. That is true. I do think that's the case. But even in this game where he was getting a lot of help, I don't think Dexter was overly great in this game against Curacao. And I think a part of the reason for that is, like I said, his ball retention is just, to me, just loses the ball too many times. And too often he's not under pressure either. He's just losing the ball. Bobby Reed, we kind of know because he's a player that we're always following. Is he injured? Is he fit? So since he's been back, he has made an appearance on the 18th for Leicester. He came on in the 59th minute and was playing like attacking midfield / left attacking midfield type of thing. But that's his only appearance since the window. He did participate in both matches in the window, miraculously, kind of, because he was just coming back. Made 3 sub appearances before coming and playing both games, starting both games for us. Went back, had this game, and then had a little flare up. So Leicester, I think, have played one game since this one. Yeah, so they played actually 2 games. So they had a game on the 21st, and they played this past weekend again. And no Bobby Reed in either one of those lineups. And basically, he's kind of touch and go at the moment. So we're still kind of up in the air. I know we heard some rumors that it was a hamstring, 3 weeks, gonna be really close. Then we heard some rumors that it wasn't even as serious as a hamstring. It was more of a precautionary thing. So we have heard multiple different things on Bobby Reed. I tend to believe as of right now, Bobby Reed will be around. But again, this is not about who I think will be picked or not picked. This is just an expose to show you what players have done so far this season, in case you're not aware. All right, so the season so far, Bobby Reed in the champ, 5 appearances with 2 starts, playing 35 minutes per game. No goals, no assists for him as of yet. Then we have the EFL Cup. He didn't play in this year. So yeah, that's it. All he has done besides playing 2 games for Jamaica is make 5 appearances in the champ with 2 starts. Has missed the last 2 championship games though, due to a niggle, right? So Bobby Reed, another one. Look, one of the way that's the leadership pieces in the team. Definitely a player that I think is what you would call like a link to the newer players that come in from overseas to represent. Because I think he's been one of those players that has come for a long while now, been in a lot of camps, been through a lot of different coaches, pretty much knows the runnings in and out at this point. So I know that he's a great help to those newer players coming across the pond, just to kind of get them bedded in and get them feeling comfortable in the system and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of things at play for Bobby Reed's selection. My thing is, we need to not have too many of the Bobby Reed type selections where, we don't really need to see how much he's playing. We just know that we kind of need him because of all the things he brings to the setup. But we can't have like 10 of those players. It's got to be just a few of those players that, you don't really have the footballing evidence to say, yes, he needs to be here. And also, people have always heard me say in the midfield area, we have to be a little more lenient with things because for various reasons, our midfield pool is lacking. Sometimes we just don't want to pick players in the pool that are there to be picked, and other times we just don't. We just have to call a spade a spade. We don't have that many players in that area. So, yeah, it is what it is. But Bobby Reed not getting the minutes. But again, due to the area on the pitch, due to his status, I would say within the team and what he brings to the whole because it can't all be about on the field. There are going to be some selections that have to do with chemistry, that have to do with other factors, right? Obviously, the person can't not be able to play, but Antonio in the Gold Cup, but you know, you get what I'm saying there with that. So midfield is an area where I have time to listen to reasoning that could get a man in a team, other than goals, assists, form, playing time. We don't have this plethora of midfielders. When it comes to wing, when it comes to striker, when it comes to right back, left back, even centre back to a lesser extent, I can scrutinize a lot more heavy because there's more options we could call on. John Russell, this is what he's been doing at club level. Not in for my liking. I wish he was playing more, but when you compare it to others in the midfield pool and others in the squad, he's playing a lot. 9 games appearances. That's a whole bunch more than some other people. No starts though. Playing 15 minutes per game. No goals, no assists. What a contrast from last season. Has he played some football league trophy? Yes, 2 games, 1 start, 68 per game. So getting more time in the football league trophy and in the EFL Cup, they were able to get pretty far. They won 2 games and lost the third game, but he started and played all 90 minutes of those 3, scoring 2 goals. So, John Russell, my hope is that he can break back into the to the League One side and not just be playing all these cup matches and football league trophy matches, but he's getting game time. He's played 9 games. I think they have played like a total of 12 or 11 in the league so far. So he's played most of the games. And made every match day squad. So he's in and around it, getting time. So that's good. Ronaldo Cephas, another starter in the Curacao game. This is what his season looks like so far over in Russia. So Russian Premier League 25-26, you see his rating for the season being really low, and that's mainly due to the spot appearances off the bench. So 10 appearances, 1 game started. He did make an appearance for the first time in a little while. Definitely the first time since the window closed on the 26th of October, which was what, Monday, I believe. 26, no, Sunday, and he made an appearance there. But yeah, 1 start out of his 10 appearances, 19 minutes per. So yeah, not really that much in the tank. He's probably played more games for Jamaica than for his club at this point, I think. The Russian Cup though. Okay, so this is where he's got some more minutes. 4 appearances, 2 starts. No goals though in the cup either. Is there any other competition he would have played this year? No. Yeah, so he's made a total of what, 10 and 14 appearances, 3 starts, no goals, no assists, averaging about what, 20 minutes a match, 24, 25 minutes a game. So yeah, not the most, but better than some. He's getting some game, he's getting a game. So that's more than some. Now, Tyrese Campbell, for outfield players, I would say he's probably the one with the most minutes in his belt, under his belt for the club. 12 appearances, 11 starts in the league. Only 1 assist to show for it, so not prolific. But again, we have had to move the metric from how prolific are you to how much do you actually play. I mean, if we're going to be honest, we can't really go off of who is prolific because I don't think we'd have a team. He started 1 game that they played in the EFL Cup, playing 66 minutes, no goal or assist there either. But yeah, that's pretty much all he's played this season. So championship, 12 appearances, 1 more in the cup, starting 12 of the 13 of them, playing about 70 minutes per. Like I said, not prolific in any way, but his playing time is prolific compared to everybody else. So Tyrese Campbell, if he's dropped, it will not be based on club form or amount of playing time for his club. That can't be the reason. Bailey Cadamarteri, he started out the season pretty much nailed on, starting every game. Since the international window, we have seen him, kind of slowly get phased back in. So he came off the bench in this one right here, playing 23 minutes. Then the next game, he came off the bench, played 20 minutes, and then the most recent game on the 25th, he actually started this time playing 63 minutes. So looks like they're working him back into that fitness he had earlier in the season when he was starting every game. But these are the stats for him in the league: 12 appearances, 9 starts, 70 minutes per game, 1 goal on the season so far, no assists. That's what he's done in the championship. I think he did play an EFL Cup game as well. Yes, they were knocked out, and he came off the bench for 33 minutes, not scoring in that one either. So that is the extent of what Bailey has been up to. Like I said, hopefully this game last week where he started and played 63 minutes is kind of what gets him back into that starting lineup. But to be honest, it wasn't the greatest performance on the day. So we'll have to wait and see what the coach thinks of that. You know, they're going through a lot of issues over there, gone into, what you call it now, administration. So at the points deducted, so there are negative points in the league right now, and I'm sure a lot of the players face a whole bunch of uncertainty as far as their futures go. So hopefully Bailey can compartmentalize, and if he's called again for the next window, just put all his eggs into the Jamaica basket, because right now, think about Wednesday, I might get depressed. But that's what Bailey has been up to this season, getting game time. So not prolific on the score sheet like Campbell, but also prolific, but prolific in the amount of minutes that they're receiving for their club. Shamar Nicholson, we know he's over in Liga MX at Club Tijuana, and this is what his season looked like so far in the Apertura. He has a 6.67 rating, 9 appearances, 4 starts. He has 1 goal to his name with no assists. And he's playing about 41 minutes per game. So getting game time, which is great, but too infrequently for my liking. Let's see, the last game he was in was against Toluca, but they played Tigres since he wasn't in the match day squad. I don't think he was in the Puebla one either, even though he would have just come back from break. So I kind of see with that one a little more. But yeah, Boza. Yeah, he was on the bench, didn't come on. And I don't even think he was on the bench in the most recent one, the 25th. So don't know if there's an issue going on with him, physically wise, but he wasn't on the bench for his most recent game either. Ian Frey should start on the right side. I read that already. Dilo, you need for forward on it. I read that already. Okay, I read that already too. Yeah, man, me figure it out. No problem. Respect. It would be interesting to hear why Dilo left Saudi Arabia. He had a 2-year contract. Talk tech system weird. Yeah, man, it don't quite catch everything. Big up one. Hope all is well, bro. Yeah, man, hope all is well with you. I don't know if you still have fam in Jamaica, but hope all of them good too. Sorry, I probably wrote everyone's name wrong, but they're all showing up strange. Yeah, I don't know what the hell. Like, this happens with YouTube. I had one always tell us how to fix it. Go into your profiles and change it back or something like that. But I don't know. It's like you have to do it every day. My concern is if Bobby is called for November, he won't be match sharp. Yeah. And I think we saw some of that in the Curacao game, especially. I think Bermuda, that opponent, guys could have rolled out of bed and still have a decent enough performance. But, the 2 games we're having left, Trinidad and Curacao, I think it is going to be important that guys are much more match sharp to be able to be effective. Yeah. I still think Bobby is still one of our best players, though. Exactly. That's what I said about the midfield area. And, you can't really come with this hard, fast minutes, and playing time because we just don't have enough players in some areas. I'm not going to really grade Bobby Reed all hard about minutes, knowing that okay, the replacement also ain't playing minutes and he ain't as good. It just don't make sense. I hope everyone and their families are safe. Yeah, man. Have to weigh up fitness alongside quality. Yeah, it have to be. Yeah, man. Antonio, bro. He's the culprit that I had to remember about that. So many coaches have gone to Barnsley, and I don't think any have favored Russell as a starter. Well, the last coach had him as a starter. That's why he had that big year with all those numbers. So I don't know. Isn't it the same guy? The guy left who was there last year? I think a lot of our players are Not Curacao have some that are not playing regularly too. It's not ideal though. Yeah, I was actually going to before I moved on to anything else. There's a reason I went to the Curacao game because the Curacao game is what I wanted to point out as far as are their guys playing, right? So Eli Room, he don't even have a club, so we don't have to look on him. Bennett, what's he up to in his career this right now? So he's at Livingston, right? He's in the Scottish Prem, and this is what Bennett has done so far this season in the Prem. He's made one starting appearance the most recent game. And the reason why that is because before that, he was without a club. But that goes to show he got to Motherwell. I'll tell you exactly when. He got to Motherwell on the 30th of September and basically took the whole month of October to get going. But as you can see, left right as soon as he got there to go play for Curacao. Right? Didn't play in the Trinidad game and then went back to Scotland. So he's at Motherwell. We'll continue to look and see if he gets more game time. Obispo, we know that Obispo is over at PSV, and I wouldn't say he's on the fringes, but he's not a nailed-on starter for them. 5 appearances, 1 start, right? That's in the league. He's playing 15 minutes in the league, but also has the Europa Conference League. What else is he playing? He's playing something else to people. Champions League, sorry. So this guy is playing Champions League football this year. 2 starts in the Champions League, 3 appearances. So yes, the league, the 1 starting 5, but this one is playing Champions League people. So Obispo, I don't have to worry about his match fitness or sharpness. Gary, he plays for Abba. Abba is in the Saudi first division, so not the Pro League, but the second tier in the Saudi Arabia League. And let's see if we get some coverage on their league. Yes, we do. He's a nailed-on starter, 5 in 5. And since he's been back from duty, he's played 2 matches, full 90 minutes. So the other starter at centre-back also. So their centre-backs playing a lot, people, and playing good levels. Saw the second division or first division, which is second tier. Okay, maybe you want to look down on that, but I mean, he's playing every day. Sambo, another one that they have brought in recently, he's at Sparta Rotterdam. And they also play in the Eredivisie. Let's see if he gets games though. Oh, he starts every game, 8 of 8. So yeah, 1-1. I don't know. I've gone 4 players on the back line. Only one of those 4 I could say not really playing. So far, your theory is not holding true. 1-1. FC Zurich. So he's over in Switzerland. Now, this guy you might remember because he scored that very good goal from outside the box on Andre Blake, which Blake said he never saw, right? So this is the season for him. Low rating, 6.41, but he's playing 7 starts in 9 appearances, playing 74 minutes per in the Swiss Super League. So a very good level as well. Swiss Super League is not no joke league. And he came over. He's doing his thing over there. So Comenencia, playing football, good level. Bakuna, what's he up to? So he's over in Turkey in the first league. This is where Daniel Johnson would have gotten promoted from, and he's in this league this season, and this is what he's been up to this year. Good rating, 7.03, playing a lot of games as well, starting all games, playing 90 minutes per, and he's made a team of the week. So Leandro, at 34 years of age, still playing 90 minutes a game in Turkey. His younger brother, Juninho, now 28. He's at Gaziantep in the Turkey Super League, right? So he has played. So this is the cup. He has a goal in the cup. But in the Super League, where we have the stats actually there, not starting. So he started 2 games out of 7. 30 minutes per game, no goals, no assists. So he's not starting, not playing all the time, but definitely playing football. Got a goal in the cup actually today, earlier today. So yeah, looks like since he's been back from the break, he plays all the time for Curacao. So it looks like they're kind of easing him back in. Came off the bench in this one, was on the bench against Fenerbahce and not used, and then played in the cup today. So not as much game time as his brother, but still playing nonetheless. Hansen, who they brought in, this was his first cap. He's playing for Middlesbrough this season. Look at what he's doing in the championship. 2 starts, 7 appearances, 32 minutes per game with a goal. Let's see if he played anything else. No, it looks like he didn't play any cup or anything. So that's pretty much what Hansen has done so far. Only thing with Hansen, I don't know if they're upset with him, but very similar to some of the Jamaica players, this man has just been on the bench the last 3 games since the window. So don't know if that has anything to do with him going and playing international. Not sure. But yeah, we've seen our players get that fate to them too. So now we have the Challenger Pro League, which is the second league in Belgium, right? And so far this season, he has 10 starts in 11 appearances, in 11 appearances, 74 minutes per game, 3 goals, 1 assist. So the vast majority of these players that actually started against us, if you really look at it, they are actually playing football at a high clip around the world. Now, 2 players don't have a team. That's Locadia and that's Room. And I think them just being staples in the team, well, not even staples, but them just having the experience of playing professionally throughout their careers, I think gets them the nod to still be around the group. And it's also a necessity thing. Dick Advocat does not think that the goalkeepers they have that they might be playing, but they still ain't better than Eli Room. And the same goes for the strikers that he might have access to. So, look, I'm not saying it's impossible that you pick a guy based on other factors because other teams have to do it, but I think that should be predicated upon what position we're talking about and how deep is the pool of players for that area, right? Because while I can argue that Bobby Reid, with the minutes he has, can still get picked in the midfield, it's a much more difficult argument to say, you know, Ronaldo Cephas, based on club form, should be in the team again. But then you have to factor in what about his international form, right? Does that not matter? And I will just say to you, listen, if you look at Cephas's performances in this qualifiers, he has been great against Bermuda twice. He was good against Curacao. I think him and Campbell were 2 best attackers against Curacao. But, you know, he's just not as effective against the other 2 opponents who happen to be the opponents we face. So, you know, there could be a conversation had that there is a life and a world where Cephas ain't even in the team. But again, I don't think that is really feasible at this point because I do think that there is a skill set that he offers that can cause a lot of problems to the opponents. It's just, I think it's just making sure you're maximizing what he can do based on the structure you're going to play with. Because, yeah, if you set him up to be great, I think he can be great. But, you know, hopefully setting him up to be great is not at the detriment of the entire team, you know? And that's the balance we need to find right there. But yeah, these are the starters. Now when you look at the bench, Shamar, we just did not playing so much. Kahim Dixon started out his life at Crawley really well in terms of getting games, but that has kind of dried up of late. You know, I see a correlation as well with you know, coming back from international duty with him. You know, wasn't in the squad for a couple of their games immediately after. You know, obviously they had games right throughout because they're League Two, but you know, they had a game on the 18th. He wasn't in the squad. He was back in the squad on the 25th, but did not get any. Well, got like I think he got like 9 minutes or something like that. But he's averaging about 53 per game, so not bad, not terrible. I just don't like the fact that of late it's like it's been getting less and less in terms of his minutes. So yeah, Kaim Dixon, another one that we're going to really have to make a tough decision on. I think the coach will in this upcoming window, especially with players coming back from injury. I think it's going to be tough. Joshan Anglin, you know, I don't really have much statistics on him other than in the Caribbean Cup. So he started 5 games in that competition, playing 82 minutes per. I know he's played some Premier League matches as well, but I know there's been heavy rotation at Mount Pleasant with the Caribbean Cup and that. So I don't think he's played like as much as he normally would in the league. But Joshan Anglin, look, he's playing football. Hasn't played in a while due to obviously circumstances beyond his control. But they should have a second leg to play. I think it's been pushed back to November the 5th. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out for him in that second leg. Karai Anderson over at Charlton with Tyrese Campbell and Amari Bell. He has had just one appearance in the championship this season, all the way back on the 16th of August. So hasn't been the greatest of times for him. If you look at it, got a red card in the cup in August, made that one appearance against Bristol in the league, and then really 4 appearances for Jamaica, and that's all he's been up to. I'm not sure if he's been playing some U21 games at least or something, but yeah, not seeing a lot from Karai Anderson. It's a shame because I think like these past couple windows really was his opportunity to kind of solidify himself. And I think even though he's done well, it's clear at some point he does have to realize that the coach clearly doesn't trust him, like maybe some of the fans do. And if that's the case, like, we need to figure something out because in my eyes, he could have been a part of things. This is Whisper. He has, since the window, played a couple of times. He played against Arsenal U21. In that game, he came on, I believe, and then he started this game against Walsall, played all 90 minutes. It's the first time since he's been back he's been able to go a full 90 minutes, which was a good sign. Yeah, he did play the full 90. And they ended up losing on penalties to Walsall in that EFL trophy match. But yeah, Dewan Richards came into the last window pretty much before doing anything besides play off of the bench. And then I think he got one start and then was called. But it's going to be interesting because, like I said, we have players coming back in the wide area. And, Dixon's always been in the team regardless. And Richards was really the one added in. So let's see, how that really works moving forward, because I do feel like, we're going to have to sacrifice one of these young players and try to just pick the best, especially in this wide area where it seems to be where we face our focus on in games. We need to make sure that we're doing the right things with those selections, because those are the keys to the team. Honestly, the way we play, if the winger don't do nothing, we don't do nothing in the game. All right. A lot of our players are not for Curacao. Okay, yeah. So we just went through the starters for Curacao, and a lot of them playing a lot of minutes. If this trend continues, we might see our World Cup squad with over 80% new players if we are so lucky to qualify. Can't go to a tournament with players not playing minutes or woefully out of form. Yeah, it's that thing, man, where we have our favorites and we have players that we know already, but if they ain't playing, I mean, we can't just keep relying on them just because we know them. Well, Curacao had the same issue last window and they still beat us. Okay, so you're saying prior to the last window. Okay, so none of those guys were playing prior to the last window. I don't see how that's possible if they were starting all the games and those games happened before the last window. I don't even like to see people jump into squads that didn't help in qualification. It's unfair, but realistically, with the situation we are in, we need some better players. Yeah, we can't really work off a sentiment. Kadamarchi not scoring at his club. None of them are that we're playing. Borrell is scoring recently. That is true. He's like the only one that was in the squad that's actually scoring in terms of the strikers. You can't get in contact with your family, Chacha. Well, I know they had an update today, and I think telecoms should be back up for a lot of the island, if not later today, tomorrow. No, some places he said it could take longer, but yeah, hopefully that gets started soon for you, bro. I hate that. I think Sheffield Wednesday will get relegated. Yeah, I believe so too. I mean, they're -6 now. So basically, Tyrese Campbell, Tavon Gray, Demi, Burrell, Kadamarchi, DJ, Trevante, Frey, Blake. These are the only players, coaches in the top 40 leagues around the world, coaches rate to play. Well, if you want to just base it on the coach is not rating them, yes. But sometimes the players them just made out of glass and thing and them does not fit. So if they were fit, they probably would be playing. Yeah, man, it's not fair, but life is not fair. If we want to do well, we need players. I don't want to feel ashamed to leave my yard. It's crazy people saying T. Campbell not playing nothing, but he start every game for his club. plus they're winning game, but they're crying for players not getting playing time at their club. Well, Tycoon, the thing is, I used to always be this man now do nothing at him club, but when you look at the players that we have at clubs, none of them not really doing anything for the most part. I mean, you have your Burrells who scored the other day a couple times, 2 and 3. Yeah, he was doing something and did something, but most of them, they don't do anything. So I have moved the metric to playing time. How much minutes you get? Because if we work off of goals, assists, or clean sheets, if you're a defender or whatever, we don't have a team. We don't even pick a team. We pick like 5 man and say, yo, when try beat 23-man squad, please. Yeah, every season for real. Prolific minutes. Yeah, bro. You have to cheat. We can't pick a team. If we are going to say we're going to pick all the players prolific for them club, who the hell we pick? Honestly. Definitely not the man them who were just in the last squad. What I learn is people will talk bad about Campbell. That's the only way they can squeeze Dixon in the team. Okay, so you have to, you can't. Okay. Damn, we're beating up my chest about Jamaica coming to play. Don't want to have to wipe shame out of my eye. Okay, so the other side of the coin is why when we talk about Campbell, have to mention Dixon. But I think it's a byproduct of them playing the same position. So when you're having a conversation about a Jamaican winger, it's probably inevitable at some point in the conversation that the wingers that are up against him for spots would come up, you know? I mean, I would think so. Yeah, man, Burrell is the one that's actually doing something. Watching Liam Bailey play, I don't think he's on the level right now. Hope the table turn quickly. Yeah, so true. And I'm glad you brought this up because I did have an article up that I wanted to touch on about Leon Bailey before we head out for the day, because really I wanted to touch on this playing time thing and just show that, because I heard what one said going around that, well, Curacao in the same boat, and I'm thinking, but they're actually not. Most of their players actually play for their clubs. Lacking the fundamentals of the position. Bro, I can't help but to point out the truth. You realize I'm not bashing King because King is at high-level club and actually getting minutes off the bench. Yes, that was his first game against Jamaica. I don't even talk no hype to people anymore. It backfired and I catch shame too many times. But people that know me know how much I love Jamaica. I will never forget the talk from before. Yeah, Swiss League is good. Trump should be back for the November window. Are you sure about that? When he missed the October window, it was right before the window, and it was like 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't know. I don't think so. Bakuna is on a yellow card. If he gets booked versus Bermuda, he's out of the Jamaica game. That would be great, boy. BM, I'm gonna be studying those yellow cards, you see, man, for that damn game against Bermuda. If anything, Bermuda can just make the man them get upset, kick them over, and make them retaliate or something. So basically, a club in the top 8 league in the world believe Campbell is good to start every game. I don't think he's been great for Jamaica. Not good enough for people to be calling conspiracy if he's not selected. I think he got his chance to separate himself from the rest and didn't take it. Jeremy Lee said, Gooner, we should not be talking about beating Trinidad because they are not the competition, bro. But I was talking about beating Curacao, wasn't I? Didn't I have Curacao and Jamaica on the screen, Jeremy Lee? I could have sworn that's what I was talking about. Yo, big up Duke. Duke, I beat the government. Say them I move too slow. Duke don't have no Duke mark too hard, I think. Bro, the coach played TC out of position. He plays left wing and the coach uses him on the right wing. I guarantee if they put Whisper on the left wing, he wouldn't play the same. If McLaren is smart, he would call Trevante Stewart next window. I agree wholeheartedly. So if he's not able to play on the right, why you guys keep comparing him to right wingers? Why are you not comparing him to Demi? Oh, I don't think he can play on the right. I'm not one of those people. I think he can play either side effectively. Tyrese Campbell, that is. We say he won't play because the coach rates CFAS. TC will be dropped, but we are pointing out that it don't make sense But the four winger will be Cephas, Demi, Bailey, and Whisper. So Dixon not gonna get picked. Odello. Trinidad are not a bad team at all. They have a good shape and are well coached with some good players in there. I think they are playing a lot better than us. Yeah, I think to some this statement will be met with a whole bunch of what you're talking about. They have 5 points and we have 9, you know. But I think if you just look at like different phases of play and how effective are you at those different phases, I think you're right. I think they do have a much better ability to combine with each other than we do. And again, we have only looked good for long stretches of time against Bermuda. We have had decent spells in the game against Trinidad and decent spells in the game against Curacao, but not for any extended period of time in either game. So yeah, I agree that for longer stretches, Trinidad has looked like a better team, but we have more points. When we bring up TC, it's like our phones autocorrect to Dixon. I don't trust Ginger Steve. I don't think anybody does. No electricity will be available for weeks. Not everywhere though, Duke. Not everywhere. If you notice, every time we have 2 games window, the first game always whack. And that's a lack of fitness. We have to find players playing in the leagues. Yeah, that's a good point, Tycoon. Like the first game seems to be the one that is lackluster, you know? And again, we beat Bermuda 4-0 in the first game, but I mean, they just aren't good enough. I think they will be okay. Mostly worried about my mom's little brother because he has a farm, so flooding is a concern. Damn. Hope him get to save some of him crops. None of our players are big players, to be honest. You can't blame us for trying to understand how a coach select a player who plays for the same club over another who ain't playing. Yeah, because so many times we don't have like even metrics to look at players. And then like when we did have that, we didn't pick a player playing over one of the players. So it's like, damn, make it make sense, you know? I would give TC some leeway as he playing at a more competitive level. Dixon isn't, and that's not as bad. And that's not to bad mind the youth. No, not in the same boat. They do have some players not playing though, and they struggle with concentration later on and running. So at least we are not unfit against a fully match fit team. Fair enough. I just think that their players that play are playing more minutes. That's something that's a fact, you know, than the players that and let me preface that by saying I don't know what the coach will do against them moving forward. But the players that played against them in the last window were not playing the same amount of minutes as the ones that they were facing for the most part. You know, when you go through our team, we're not playing the same amount of minutes as them because we see them play for Jamaica, and I don't see a major difference between them. Okay. In truth and in fact, if we had scored at least 1/4 of our opportunities, we wouldn't be in this position. Yeah, the Curacao game, we had enough opportunities to at least get a point. Sure. Some would argue some of the quality of those chances we could have won. I think, but I feel like, you know, a 2-all game, Curacao changes how they're playing and they start to create chances again. You know, at 2-0, they're kind of just, you know, seeing out the game by defending for the most part. I think most of our players struggle for Jamaica, so I blame coaching, but you're not wrong. So our strikers needs to be more clinical. Well, I wouldn't just put it down to the strikers, Melcher, because defenders miss chances in that game, midfielders miss chances in that game, and attackers. So, yeah, it was everybody. Bailey is not making this team if it's on merit. I would have to agree so far on what I've seen at Roma so far. He does not look healthy. You know, and it's not just me saying it, his coach that is with him is saying it too. Because look at this. Look at these people. I found this today. On Leon Bailey's ongoing recovery and match fitness. This was speaking to Gasparini after their 2-1 win over Parma yesterday, where, you know, Bailey came on in the 7th minute and went off at halftime. So this is what he had to say on that. He needs to find condition. We probably rushed him back a bit. He needed another week or 2 after a long layoff. He started on Sunday, but perhaps wasn't fully recovered physically and was clearly struggling. He wasn't his usual fast, explosive self. When asked about Ferguson and Bailey, the manager explained Bailey was struggling. He's coming back from a long injury and we may have put him in too soon. To avoid risk, it was better this way. Perhaps neither had fully recovered from Sassuolo. Sassuolo was the weekend game. The first half hour was difficult, partly thanks to Parma and partly because we needed time to settle. Once we did, we controlled the game. So, on tactical decisions like starting Ferguson, we played with Dybala, Bailey, and Sule, focusing on technique, exchanges, and speed. Bailey didn't seem fully recovered from Sassuolo, so I preferred to change. So he was thinking Bailey was okay to bring him on in the 70th minute, and he wants to go with more fluidity in the front three because these three guys can play either side. And in his mind, through the middle, I think he learned quickly that Bailey really ain't no central striker or forward, but he tried it out in this game and it didn't look good. He's blaming it on the lack of fitness. I'm blaming it on that, and also I just don't think he's gonna play well there, you know. But yeah, Gasparini basically talking about Bailey and him admitting that maybe they perhaps rushed him back before he really needed to come back. And yeah, I thought that was interesting because I was wondering, is it tactical why he came off? Was he looking that bad? Because I watched the game and he wasn't looking the best in that little time he had on the pitch, but it did look like he wasn't fully 100. He looked even less sharp than he did on the weekend. Looked like he had taken a step back rather than forward in terms of his fitness being, up to par. The man got back like yesterday. That's a great thing. I will agree, none of our players are playing great and none look exceptional, and even Cephas look better than higher rated players. Yeah, that is true. We have some individuals that allow us to produce moments and even when we play badly, and win even when we play badly. Other teams have some weak individuals that cost them, so we can always win regardless. That's true, but we can't say we're going to drop players for club form if they play well for country. It doesn't make sense, especially when not many players play that great for us. Bermuda need to play upset to one of the team. I don't think that's gonna happen, Cesar. Wishful thinking. Look at the bright side. They'll be fresh when playing for Jamaica. Hey, glass half full approach, Richard Green. Somebody have to take it. All right, one said that's fair from Rob. They are, but some defenders are not, and that can kill you later on. When the body tires, the mind does too. Yeah, I think Brennett, we'll see what he does over in the Scottish Premiership because that's the one that really wasn't really playing. Obispa plays enough, Gary plays enough, and Sambo definitely plays enough. And that, to me, if everybody's fit, that's gonna be the starting back four. Now they could bring back they have another defender they could bring in as well. Hold on 1 second, I'll tell you who it is. They ended up going with Gary instead, but they could have played Bazor, Richard Le Bazor. They could have played him too. Another one that kind of just came in. So them have decent enough options there. Put it this way. If we are playing more than them, it's like by a couple of minutes per game. But for the most part, they're playing more than us. BM said Bailey will get picked. We know how McLaren operates. Yeah, Jason, I saw a highlight of Bailey game yesterday ago. He's not ready. I think he will probably turn down the call if he doesn't look good this weekend and out of form. I don't even think they would call him, to be honest, if this continues how it looks like. If they think they're going to get the best out of him at striker, they're wrong. At least put a whole up player out there with him to run off. Yeah, the way they had it yesterday wasn't going to work. All three of them wanted the same damn thing. Sule, Dybala, and Bailey. It's like the same player. Well, in terms of function, what they want to do. That miss in front of goal had very little to do with fitness. Yeah, that's just him, just his right foot being what I call it now, inconsistent. Do you think it is a good thing that Curacao game is going to start before ours? Not necessarily, but I don't think it really matters because football ideal. I think going into this game, most sane people are giving Curacao 11 points going into the game because Bermuda has nothing to play for. We saw them down tools even in our second game that we played them. They didn't have some of the players that they were using from overseas anymore. They have kind of let them, basically not come back. So, who's to say that the next window isn't okay, we have these 18 young Bermudans that we want to give experience to, and we're going to let them play this window. We don't know. That could happen, you know. I would love if Bermuda could nick a point from Curacao. I would love it too, but I just don't think it's going to happen. 14 games, no goals or assists, Jaja. Yeah, but the problem is BM. That's a lot of our damn attackers, man. Very little production. Jason, is Lemby getting minutes at his club? None. Well, he got 19 yesterday. He got 19 not yesterday, on the 25th, their last game. Richard Green, blessing up Unun. Has anyone seen any difference between Dixon now and Dixon back in high school? I don't. Um I think Dixon now, I think that's harsh to say there's no difference. I think there is a bit of a difference, honestly. I think he's a bit more comfortable behind the ball now. Like I think he really was better on that final line in schoolboy football. You know, even though he did operate wide from time to time and create as well. I think he was more of a, he could link up play still and everything. But I think now he's a bit more controlled, even though he still kind of has this, that kind of way of playing. I think he's even still now more controlled than he was then. Should we wrap up Jamaica chance of making the World Cup? No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, again, look, we are playing two teams in Trinidad and Curacao that have their frailties as well. So we're not gonna face a perfect opponent in these two games. So for me to come out and say we have no chance or we should wrap up the chances, I think that would be just me being pessimistic about things. You know what I mean? With all the things that I'm complaining about and all the deficiencies in how the federation does some things, with all that being said, I still feel like we have a good chance to make the World Cup based on the two games we have. I think he can play in the system, just need someone for him run up so he can drift. Yeah, they just don't quite play that way. So the way they play, they kind of need that focal point to be up there so that the guys in those two slots that kind of roam and drift and go wide and go central and kind of pick up pockets where they can play can do that. The problem was all three of the guys on the pitch at the same time are the roamers, drifters. None of them are going to hold the ball up, and that was why they look so poor in the first half. Have to assume Curacao win, so lose to Trinidad. We are facing finishing third and elimination. My word, Trinidad will go to 8 points, and if we lose the game against Curacao, then Trinidad would pass us and get to second because they play Bermuda last. So yeah, Bermuda will find a draw. If you listen to the coach, they will play back 10. Well, Tycoon again. I would love that, but I'm not gonna sit here and say, yeah, so Bermuda going to eke. No. Based on what I've seen of both teams, they could play that game 20 times and Bermuda might get one draw. So if we're gonna get the 1 out of 20 day, great. But I'm not gonna bank on that. I'm gonna say Curacao will come to the office with 11 points. How much will we have? Well, that's up to us. Jason, I saw the Bermuda players at Mecca after the game. I think football is the last thing on their minds. Yeah, bro, they are checked out of this damn cycle, bro. That's not true. Plus, he was never a stupid player, talking about Dixon. Oh, you must be responding to the person that asked the question. So, Jason, what do you think the mentality should be? Win in Trinidad and try to draw against Curacao or play for a draw against Trinidad? Although I've been asked this many times, and I will stand to this. In qualification, the most important points that you have is the ones in front of you. So I don't think we should approach this window with a 2-game approach. We need to approach it with a 1-game approach, and the 1 game is Trinidad. Let us work off of the Trinidad result first. Because the minute we start to look ahead and say, oh, if we get this, then we just need this, we're going to end up needing more than what we wanted to have needed in that last game. So let's just put all our eggs in the Trinidad game basket. Try to make sure we prepare for that game as best as possible to get the best possible outcome. Because that will only make our lives easier when we face Curacao. So short answer, the mentality should be to try to win the game in Trinidad, yes. But that doesn't mean that you try to draw the game against Curacao. That just means you have the opportunity to draw the game against Curacao to still have a result that would be good for you to get to the World Cup or would get you to the World Cup. Cannot defend crosses, cannot defend set pieces at all, and are mistake prone. they can outplay us a bit more and still lose. Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we beat them in Jamaica and they actually play better than us on the day, like football playing wise. That's not something that's far from the realm of possibility. The reality is the next two games can go either way. Yes, we can qualify, but also there's a possibility we make the playoffs or finish third. Yep, all possibilities are on the table. That is true. 6 points, Corey said. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, if we do that, we win the World Cup. Simple. Let's face it, don't expect us to win 2 games. The best bet for us is 1 win and 1 draw. Well, the thing is, if the 1 win comes in the Curacao game, we definitely make the World Cup. But if the 1 win comes in the Trinidad game, we don't necessarily have to make the World Cup. So, I would say the Curacao game is only more important because it finalizes where we finish. But the Trinidad game is more important to me because it's the game that we have next. We need to win in Trinidad. It makes the last game easier. Facts. That's what I would say. Focus on the first game, win it, and then we have, all right, every match has 3 outcomes. A win, a loss, and a draw. Wouldn't you rather go into the Curacao game knowing that 2 of the results that are possible would get us to the World Cup and not just 1? The only way that's possible is if we beat Trinidad and Trinidad people. Yeah, man, bless up all Jamaicans. That is it. I don't want us to be under pressure to win the last game. Yeah, me either, at all. Win both games, simply. Well, that's obviously, for sure. All right, people, listen. Great discussion as usual. Just try to create a slight diversion from the craziness and the destruction going on in Jamaica with that hurricane. If those of you who don't have access to power and internet and those things couldn't watch this video, no worries. Hopefully, sometime you get some kind of normalcy back to life where you at least have your light and you have your electronics and you stay in tune with what's going on in the world as far as the internet and all the things that you like to follow. So if you're watching this later down, just know a lot of prayers were said. A lot of money was sent. A lot of physical capital is going and traveling to help out with the efforts as well. I have a cousin that lives up in Jersey asking me yesterday about how can he travel down to help because he wants to physically go and help. So people, don't forget, it's not always the money. You can also give your time, your body, your manpower, woman power for that matter, can be helpful. So people, just do what you can. Like the government was saying today on their release on YouTube, just be mindful that there are people that are out there trying to take advantage of the situation for the worse. So just make sure that you're sending things to reputable sources and links so that it can actually be used for what it's intended to be used for. All right, people. But yeah, man, I had a great time bringing you all this information today. We started off with the Reggae Girlz winning the 4-1. Had a little bit brief discussion about the highlights that we were able to see. My thoughts on some of the positions and some of the players brought in. Definitely Tiana Harris. I like that selection based on the fact that I think the Swavy sisters need to be pushed. I think Kanya Plummer was there to do that, but it's clear that the coach doesn't see Plummer as someone who could displace those two. So, look, not trying to break up this happy sister pairing, but I think they'll get better if they are challenged. And I think Tiana Harris has the ability to do that. So great. That was my main takeaway from that squad there. And then moving into the discussion about the youth teams, just kind of touched on, what I see as a lack of a framework as far as recruiting goes of the overseas players. We got into discussion, why is it about recruitment? It should be about development. And I drove home another point that I've always said, proper recruitment does not equal stagnated or no development, right? Those two things can happen simultaneously, and we need to stop thinking that those two things work against each other. They do not. All right. So yeah, better framework in place to better sort through the talent so that we're not wasting valuable resources bringing players over that never had the ability or the level to get to the Jamaican national team level, right? So what ends up happening as a byproduct of that is people say, oh, we brought 25 players over last year and only 3 of them were good enough. Well, I think that's more of an indictment on the recruitment of the 25 players than the actual overall, you can't use those 25 players who weren't recruited by anyone really and just kind of happen to know somebody who knew somebody, so they were able to get info to come to a camp. You cannot base the pool of players being not good enough on that, because you can't not recruit and find the best and then tell everyone that we don't need to recruit because we never get the best. Well, if you don't try to get the best and you're going to compare our players to, fringe or third, fourth tier level players in the States that play, then yes, I would also say don't call players next time because they weren't good enough. But we don't find the actual cream. That's the problem. And it's because we don't have a framework in place. So hopefully we can work on that moving forward. And then, of course, we closed off the show with some talk about the Reggae Boyz form. Not really so much their form, but really and truly it was about playing time. What players are actually playing. And we compared our players who started against Curacao to the Curacao starters and just showed you, this thing going around that Jamaica is in the same boat as a lot of these other countries in terms of playing time and lack of it. That's just not true where Curacao is concerned. So people, big up on yourselves. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like I said, I enjoyed bringing you the content today. Created a bit of a diversion for those who wanted to talk some football, but people will get right back into the relief efforts. Right now, I'm going to reach back out now to some people that I haven't spoken to yet. I know they're okay, but yeah, just want to reach out and see if there's anything we can do on our end to help. Pops is on ground, so I know he'll be doing what he can on the ground. But yeah, anybody who can help people, man, just consider it. Try to find a way to do it. And they do need help on the ground with actual manpower volunteers. So if you can do that, go ahead and seek trying to do that as well, people. But big up. Thanks so much for tuning in. At the end of these shows, you hear these words. I am Jason Gooner. This is Jason Gooner TV. And until next time, people, Jamaicans and Jamaica, we're praying for you. Stay safe. And we will rebuild. We'll get through this, people. Big up on yourselves. And till next time, peace.